Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. In a recent article in the Times of India, Trinamool MP Dereck O'Brien has sharply criticized the Maharashtra government's decision to ban beef. Today's Indian Express says that yesterday the Rajya Sabha didn't permit a discussion on the matter, though Mr. O'Brien was permitted to raise it during 0 hour. The issue was deemed to be too sensitive. Joining me now to discuss whether a ban on beef and the slaughter of bulls and bullocks is justified or unwarranted and unfair is Dereck O'Brien himself, and from the BJP, one of its most senior spokespersons, Sudhanshu Trivedi. Dereck O'Brien, in a recent article in the Times of India, you wrote, and I'm quoting, "The manner in which the BJP-led government in Maharashtra has banned the cutting, eating and very possession of beef is disturbing." Why do you take such a strong stand on this issue?
You know, Karan, it's not about me taking a stand. This is a stand. This is a great country of ours, and you know, we believe that this is a mosaic of cultures, of habits, of dietary restrictions or eating habits. So you know, in fact, I was just reading somewhere that this beef ban is, even if you're caught with beef, it's a more extreme punishment than 2 or 3 other levels of punishment.
In fact, in your article, you say it's more extreme than sexual assault on a girl. That's what you said in your article.
Yes. So I think this is not a good sign. The funny part is that, you know, we don't cook beef at home ourselves. We're a Christian family, but because of choice, we choose not to cook beef at home. Because in Kolkata where we live, we are a Christian family who grew up, who's grown up in a Hindu neighborhood, in a lane named after a Muslim. That is the great diversity of this country. We are not some you know, crazy state where you have to do this and you have to do that. So it's very, very disturbing. It's very, very disturbing, and the worst part about this is that it has other repercussions.
Can I before I come to the other repercussions, can I raise a general thought with you? Do you fear that what lies behind the ban on beef in Maharashtra, and you could soon see it being replicated if reports are true in Haryana, is some sort of attempt at Hindutva politics, a sort of resurgence of Hindutva politics? Is that one of your key concerns?
See, the great thing about this country is it doesn't matter whether your name is O'Brien or Basu or Jhunjhunwala or Srinivasan. You know, we've grown up in a way where you can have the freedom, you know. I mean, just imagine a Christian family like mine in the Hindu neighborhood we lived, named after a Muslim. We never ate beef at home, because it was our own sensitivity. If you wanted a beef steak, you go and eat it outside. So if someone doesn't want to eat garlic at home, that's her problem. I think this kind of freedom to do things, this is very, very dangerous, and this is how this whole thing starts. And I'm very, very glad that we flagged this yesterday.
Okay, I've got Sudhanshu Trivedi with me. I want to bring him in.
It's a very sensitive...
Let me bring in Sudhanshu Trivedi.
It's a very sensitive issue.
I take it.
But I'm glad we can speak about it.
Sudhanshu Trivedi, India is a secular country where people have a right to eat what they want. Beef may be prohibited for Hindus, but it's perfectly acceptable for Christians and Muslims. How then, in a secular country, do you justify a ban on beef? Unless your intention is to prevent Christians and Muslims eating something they have a right to eat and their religion doesn't prohibit them from eating.
There are 2 aspects of this. One is a religious sensitivity attached to this, and other is a rationality of logic attached to it. First, we should go by the rational logic. Secondly, we will go on the religious sensitivity. If you go by the rational logic, I would just like to ask one question. We all have studied during our school days in science, which is the perfect food? The answer was milk. But the milk was, we can obtain from any of the animal.
Not if you have lactose intolerance. Not if you have lactose intolerance. It's the most imperfect possible food in those circumstances. And a lot of people do.
Let me complete the sentence. What happened? The food like milk is having the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol also. But it is proven that the milk of the desi cow is having only good cholesterol, not the bad cholesterol.
Oh, come off it,
like
Mr.
the mustard
Trivedi.
oil,
Please,
like the
Mr.
almond
Trivedi,
oil,
don't
and like
claim
the olive
virtues
oil.
for the desi cow that doesn't
gradually,
exist for the British
one more
heifer.
thing. Just 50 years back, we were talking about that if you are worshipping the animals, worshipping the trees, worshipping the rivers, this is the reminiscence of a primitive tribal civilization. Now, from 1992, Rio de Janeiro to 2009, Copenhagen, we are saying go nature friendly. Now we are talking about the organic farming. From where the organic farming comes? By the cow dung and using the pesticide as the cow urine.
I applaud the wide, comprehensive nature of the arguments you're putting forward, but you began with one critical sentence. You said there is a religious justification to your desire to ban beef, and that is presumably that it's offensive to 80% of the Hindus of this country, which is 80% of the majority of the population. Now, let me put this to you. The eating of pork is equally offensive to Muslims. If you want to ban beef on religious grounds, why not ban pork as well? Be fair.
That's what I am trying to say.
You're going to ban it?
It is by the rational scientific logic of what we get from cow. It's less towards the religious sentiment which you are trying to put a finger. I don't want to put this type of logic. You name a single Muslim dominated country in the world where the pork is permitted.
You mean to say the cow is so good for you,
I'm not
don't
saying
eat
that
it.
we are a theocratic state.
Cow's
we are a
milk
secular
is so
state.
good, why wouldn't cow's
It
meat
can
be
even
equally
forget
good?
about the other countries.
Dereck O'Brien.
In the India, you name a single, you take the Mallapuram district of the Kerala, which is having the 90% of the Muslim population. Is it possible there? No. Then don't try to put the rationality of secular logic.
Dereck O'Brien.
In one context in a different color, in the other context a different color.
In other words, you've got different horses for different courses. You want to ban it where you can. You are not going to ban it where you can't. And that's probably good politics, but it certainly doesn't sound like a sound principle. Sounds more like convenience. Dereck O'Brien, come in. You wanted to say something.
I will first react to 2 points which the gentleman said. You can go, we are not Dubai or Bahrain and Kuwait, and thank you, we don't want to be Dubai or Kuwait and Bahrain, but even in Dubai, Kuwait or Bahrain, you can still go into the supermarket and you can buy, there's an announcement there which says, a board which said, pork for non-Muslims only.
Yeah. Not in Saudi Arabia, however. Not in Saudi Arabia, however.
Not in Saudi Arabia. You're right. Now, so don't give us those, and these are bad examples. Okay. The next thing I want to tell you is that from the farmer's point of view, there is already, Sharad Pawarji sits next to me in parliament, just the next seat. And Pawarji was reconfirming some figures I had given him. There's a 50% fodder shortage, 54% fodder shortage in Maharashtra, shortage of fodder. So the fodder shortage will also go up because you're not going to slaughter these animals. And you mentioned Hindus, Muslims and Christians. What about the Dalits who eat this? You know, we've always celebrated this diversity of our country. It's not about me eating beef or not eating beef. It's the freedom of choice. And the very social fabric of our country is built on this. And one very interesting point.
Quickly, because I want to go back to Mr. Trivedi.
This is very scary, very, very scary. A dowry death or sexual harassment case, terrorist case now in Maharashtra has a smaller penalty than eating a particular meat.
Quite right, and that's a good point to make. Let me go back to Mr. Trivedi, because Mr. Trivedi, you made an awful lot about the food value of milk and how you believed scientifically milk was the most important food product that could be had. Now, I'm going to quote to you from the Supreme Court judgment of 1958. This is what the Supreme Court said. There is no getting away from the fact that beef or buffalo meat is an item of food for a large section of the people in India. And then it added, poorer people, therefore, who can hardly afford fruit or milk or ghee, are likely to suffer from malnutrition if they are deprived of even the one slice of beef or buffalo flesh, which sometimes might be within their reach. That's the Supreme Court of India in 1958 pointing out to you that this is a nutritional product. It is probably essential for the poor because it is the cheapest of meats. If you do not permit them to have it because you're banning it, malnutrition will be the outcome. That's the Supreme Court.
That's what I want to say, Karan, that this was the situation in 1958. Why we want to stick to that situation? In the last 50 years, so many changes in society and so many developments in scientific have proved. In 1958, what was said?
What about people who like
for
the
the
taste
organic
of
farming?
beef?
It was said,
What
no,
about
go for
people
chemical
who like the
fertilizer,
taste of
mechanized
beef?
farming.
Don't they have a right
and now
to eat
after
what they
50
want?
years, we are saying go for organic farming.
But you can organically farm
it
beef.
was a phrase. Let me complete.
Beef
it was a
can be
phrase.
done organically.
अरे दुनिया चांद पे पहुंच गई, तुम गाय के गोबर पे पड़े हो, और आज वही गाय का गोबर ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग का सबसे बड़ा बेस है. That's why go with that scientific development in the recent year. One more example I would like to say. As Dereck O'Brien was saying, it is very scary. Just 2 years back, when our Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh government has introduced yoga, they said, oh, this is the saffronization of the education, this is scary. But now, on 21st of June of this year, yoga is celebrated by United Nations
let's
with the
come
support
back
of
to beef,
177
not yoga.
countries. This
Come back
is the
to beef.
problem.
The point,
that with the Macaulay mindset of 19th century.
No, there's nothing
Marxist
Macaulayan
mindset
about the
of 20th
mindset.
century,
What I want to point out to
so
Mr.
many good
Trivedi
things
is
of
this.
our Indian culture
Even
in the
if I
name
were
of
to
secular
accept,
and religious
even
freedom.
if I were to accept for argument's sake that there is a rational reason why beef should not be eaten because there are other meats and other products that are more healthier, that's disputable. But even if I were to accept it for argument's sake,
Karan,
what about the fact that some people like beef and want to eat it? Do people not have a freedom of choice
Listen,
in your
Karan,
country
I'll tell
anymore? Why don't I answer that, Mr. Trivedi, and I'll go to Dereck
Karan.
O'Brien. Do people not have a freedom of choice
Yes,
to
Karan.
eat what they want? Answer that, Mr. Trivedi, then I'll go to Dereck O'Brien.
If you,
One second,
People are
Dereck, let him
having
answer
freedom
that.
to eat whatever they want. But if you go by this logic,
But they
if you look
can't
at the
eat what they
entire
want
world,
if you
there are
ban
so
it.
many people which want to have so many type of meats, of so many type of animals. Is
Okay.
everything is permitted? Everything is available? No. There are numerous countries in which I
So
don't
who are
want
you to
take the
decide
name.
what people can eat
So
and not
you
eat?
cannot say
Who are
that
you to
by
decide what can
logic
be
of
eaten
this
and what
freedom,
can't be?
each and everything should be allowed to each and everybody.
Well, it's a very strange argument. Forgive me, I
Let
don't
me tell
understand
you.
the democratic principles of that argument at all.
tell you.
I'll come to you, Dereck O'Brien. I'm baffled by that.
Sad. Now listen. If you are, I've written this down. I've written this down because I wanted to be very sure of what I was saying. If you are arrested for the possession of beef, you have to prove yourself that this is not beef, and there is only in dowry deaths and in terrorism where you have to prove this, that level of crime for a dowry death and terrorism. And hold on, if a farmer is suspected of selling or planning to sell cattle for slaughter, what will happen? It can be confiscated and lodged in a goshala where the cost of the maintenance of that cattle has to be borne by the accused.
Okay.
This is not the India I know. This is not the India I want. This is not
Okay.
not what India wants.
Absolutely.
We've grown
Let
up
me-
in a very different environment. We've grown up in a very different environment. What has happened? And I'm really glad that yesterday we could bring up this issue. This is a great
Well, the
democracy.
sad thing is you
I
may
got
have brought
3
it up in
minutes
zero hour, but the Indian Express says that Mr. Kurian, the deputy chairman, denied a discussion on the grounds it was too sensitive. And I find that perplexing. Why should this be too sensitive
no,
for there to
that's
be a
wrong.
discussion?
No, what
That
the-
is wrong.
what
Paper
Mr.
says
Dereck
so.
O'Brien
The
is
Indian
saying
Express
about
says so.
India and Indian context and the
That is
Indian
wrong.
laws, there are certain very peculiar things.
You think it's too
If I
sensitive, do you,
say-
Mr. Trivedi? You think there shouldn't be a discussion on
If
the
I
subject?
say something, let me complete the sentence. If somebody is saying that one particular section of society should have 4 childs, I am not approving that. It is highly condemnable.
Quite
but
right.
having 4
Sakshi
wives
Maharaj,
is
if I
permissible.
recall, was saying that
the
about Hindus.
party of Dereck O'Brien
Sakshi
cannot
Maharaj, your
dare
colleague, I
to
suppose
say
is who you're quoting.
that there can be a one man, one wife. No. Even the wife is having a talaq, she cannot have compensation even of
What
100 rupees in the case of
Let's not get too
Shabano.
excited about
So
one
this
man,
type
one
of
wife. Have
logics
you
are there.
forgotten
You
the
are
Pandavas
standing
were
on
5
extreme
husbands
on
and
one
one wife?
aspect of the rule
Please bear
and
in
giving
mind
an
the
example
Pandavas
of the
were
other.
5
Eating
husbands
is
and
more
one wife.
important
So let's
than
not
the
get into
livelihood
these
of-
things.
and the freedom of a woman. In the name of your religious feelings and other things.
Let's
so
come
that's
back.
why I want to say, this is the hypocrisy of the Indian political parties in the name of secularism, interpreting in an utterly wrong way, which is creating this type of questions.
All right. Very quickly, I'm going to ask one final question to each of you, and I'm going to ask you to give me just a 30-second answer. First, Dereck O'Brien. Is the banning of beef and the prohibition of the killing of bulls and bullocks the most important issue in Indian politics today?
I think it's a bigger issue. You know, I think it's a much bigger issue. I think, you know, the beauty of this great nation is it really doesn't matter. The India I know is not about whether you're a Hindu Indian or a Christian Indian or a Muslim Indian or a Sikh Indian. That's not the India I know. We live in a place where we can respect each other's choices, and that's the way we want to. That's the way ahead.
I want to go to
That's the way ahead.
I want to go to Mr. Trivedi with something very similar. Mr. Trivedi, do you believe Narendra Modi, who wants development and good governance as his agenda of priorities, would really be happy that the debate is being overtaken because his government, be it in Maharashtra or Haryana, has brought up the banning of beef as a priority? Is that not degrading his vision rather than furthering it?
This is the unnecessary topic of debate. Karan, I would like to remind in 1952, when the first proposal of cow slaughter was brought, it was duly signed by all sections of society, whether it was the Muslim, Christian, Jews, Parsis, all. It is the subsequent politics which created this problem. I would like to quote one sentence.
Very quickly.
Ras Khan, Sayyid Ibrahim Ras Khan was a Muslim poet, and he said, if I am born again as an animal, I should be one of the cows around which Lord Krishna uses to round about. Manus ho to wahi Ras Khan, baso brij gokul gav ke gwaran, jo pasu ho to banu bas gaye chare unit nand ki dhenu majaran. This was the composite culture of the country, which was destroyed by these type of parties, which created each and every point of the communal and vote bank politics.
Undermine the right of other Muslims and Christians to eat beef if they want to. Your ban does. That's what I'm saying. Give people the right to eat what they want. Give them the right to do it in their homes.
That's what I'm saying. In 1952, everybody was in favor of ban.
But not in 2015. The world changes, Mr. Trivedi.
And most of the states have put cow slaughter, which was subsequently taken off in the 60s, 70s and 80s.
Gentlemen, we've aired this subject. We've had a lot of what I hope is good-natured fun, but underneath it is, in fact, a core principle of a democracy. People have a right to eat what they want. Respect their habits. Do not impose your own wishes, prejudices or religious phobias upon them. I hope that's something people listen to, because that is what a true democracy is all about. My thanks to both of you for joining me. And there we end this particular episode. If you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.